Hack it and whack it, baby. If you see something with no variegation, just come back to the main stem and cut it out. Some people among us can't stand tools that are bent. So don't do that. Come on, kitty. Psst, psst, psst. This is just too much mulch, too much. This guy has been using my feeder as its buffet. That is the size of a chicken. If anybody can ID this guy, please let me know. How you doing today, folks? Well, we're back at it again, and it's another absolutely gorgeous day. You know, we had our first hard frost this week. It's been cold in the mornings, but the sun has been coming out, warming things up. It's been in the high 40s, if not mid 50s. You know, by midday, I'm working about 45 minutes away from my house, and I've been traveling these country roads, Connecticut country roads, state roads, where the speed limit's like 45, it's windy, and I'm in a part of the state where it's very hilly, and there've just been some amazing views. It's kind of farm country, if you can say Connecticut has farm country. And you know, I've been seeing farm tractors, I've been seeing cows, all kinds of animals. Let me show you what we're up to today. If you're trying to attract woodpeckers, get a flowering dogwood, because there has been a woodpecker every 2 to 3 hours. It comes by, and anybody who birds knows the woodpecker call. It's not the pileated, it's not the downy, but it's that mid-sized woodpecker, and it comes by and it grabs a few of these dogwood fruits and then flies off. Flowering dogwoods, Cornus florida, likes to grow on the edge of the wood line, you know, semi-shade, not like just full sun baking. So, you know, if you have the edge of a woodland, that's where you want to put some of these, and you will definitely get some wildlife. The first thing we're going to do today is go ahead and prune this Moonshadow Euonymus. And when we're pruning the Moonshadow Euonymus, I just want to show you this branch here. Looks like it reverted, you know, so at some point, this Euonymus, which could be Euonymus forntunei, maybe, a winter creeper Euonymus, would have had a sport that looked like that, and somebody just propagated that and kept growing it. But at some point, it reverted back. Whenever we're pruning the Moonshadow Euonymus or other shrubs, you know, if you're pruning something that's variegated and then you see something green, what you really want to do is prune the green out. The part that's kind of perplexing to me, and I'm not sure if Euonymus has a juvenile foliage or not, this is actually like a different foliage. If you have Dwarf Alberta Spruce at your house, it's a very short-needled evergreen shrub. A lot of people put them on either side of their front doors for like the last 30 years. I think they're hideous. People plant what they know. But quite often you will see a Dwarf Alberta Spruce with like a White Spruce tree sticking out the back. What's happened is the Dwarf Alberta Spruce is a tree that only grows 4 to 6 inches a year. But a Dwarf Alberta Spruce is actually, you know, a sport of Picea glauca, the White Spruce. So sometimes you'll see a Dwarf Alberta Spruce with a White Spruce tree sticking out the back of it. The best thing you can do if you see that is prune the White Spruce out as soon as possible, or else you're going to have like an 80-foot tall tree growing literally feet off of the house. When you're pruning a Euonymus or I don't know, basically any ground cover, I mean, you shouldn't really generalize things, but all I do is I just get in there and I'll look for, you know, like where a shoot is coming off and prune just a little bit beyond and just take it down lower. And, you know, this is another one that, you know, if you just prune this once in a while, you can kind of keep it under control and it's not a really big deal. But, you know, life happens and it gets away from people. All right, folks, the neighbor just started mowing their lawn, and I swear there's either an exhaust leak or a hole in the muffler. But, you know, the only thing I want to show you folks is as you're doing this, when you get to the edge of the bed, you just want to kind of clean up the edge of the bed as well. I'm not even sure if I'll edge this bed, but I just want to knock it back a little bit so this ground cover doesn't end up taking over the whole yard. Wherever I cut this, the shrub is gonna, it's gonna, if I cut one branch, it's gonna encourage everything behind it to get more growth. So, when you prune something, it's basically gonna thicken up whatever's behind. It's also going to make it immensely easier to blow the leaves out of here. This is the one that reverted, and let me show you this. So this branch here has the variegation, but this branch here doesn't. So we're just going to go back and cut it back to where it doesn't have the variegation, so that's all gone. And then there's one here. Let me show you this. So you see here we got variegation right here on this branch, but if we come back to the main stem and we follow this branch, there's no variegation. So when you're pruning, if you see something with no variegation, just come back to the main stem and cut it out. This one's dead, so we'd cut that out too. And this one's dead, so we'd cut that out too. The more often you prune, you're going to be pruning less at a time and just kind of keeping things in check as opposed to a major pruning like we're doing here. Go back around this tree, again, you'll notice we have this different colored foliage. So we're just going to get it out of there. But if you take a look, so you've got the green foliage and then it goes back, and then we've got some yellow, and then we've got some green. So just cut the green out. Or if it's something cool, like if this came out and it was like pink and red, don't cut it out, propagate it and sell it, and you'll make a ton of money. What I try to do is get stuff off trees. Sometimes the older houses, it looks pretty cool to have stuff growing up trees, but it's really not good for trees. This one was literally just growing in the crack of this tree, starting to get roots. I'm gonna keep my body angled this way to try to block that noise. Hack it and whack it, baby. Again, trying to get this stuff off the trees. I'm really having a hard time concentrating. That mower is, it's loud and it's just not a pleasant tone either. Folks, if you've got a nursery spade and you've got raspberries, what you really want to do is just take your nursery spade, get under the roots, and pop them out. You also want to make sure you've got really thick gloves on, because these have thorns when you're lifting them out. And then just bang them and you'll get them loose. Somebody has been through here and they just cut them. So all you get is a bigger shrub, whereas if you just take a couple minutes with a nursery spade or your soil knife, you can just dig the whole thing out. So folks, if you've got a spot like over here where there's tall weeds, but I've already gone through and thinned out all the raspberries, there's no dandelions, the tool you want to use is right here. This is called the Grub Hoe. This one is made by a company named WW Manufacturing, and I really recommend this one. I used to have one with a wood handle, which was good, but I really like this one a lot. And with your Grub Hoe, you want to keep that handy file I'll talk about. Handy file is a file with a built-in handle. It's double cut on one side, more aggressive, single cut on the other side, less aggressive. So every once in a while, touch it up before you lose that edge, or if you get some nicks in it. And it doesn't have to be razor sharp. You just want to have, pretty much what you see here. Just, an angled edge, but not a razor edge, because a razor edge is going to end up getting damaged easier. But let me show you how this guy works. You can do a lot of damage very quickly with this guy. It's got some mass to it. So this happens to be the same tool I use to remove small areas of grass as well. So all you want to do is just use your Grub Hoe, take small cuts of the grass. You don't have to dig down deep. It's not like you're trying to get 4 inches of roots. Just get the top of the grass plant and maybe an inch down. It depends how deep the roots are. But just scrape out the top, and then you're all set to do whatever you need to do after that. Let me show you how that looks. So once you use the Grub Hoe, then you can just take your 5-tine Manure Fork and just scoop that grass right up. Don't even rake it into piles first. Just go through, scoop it up, put it in the wheelbarrow, take it wherever you need to take it, and then come back and you can just rake the surface and you're good to go. Folks, earlier I was showing you some Virginia creeper growing right along the foundation, and you'll often see Virginia creeper, or in this case, poison ivy, growing along the foundation, because both of those vines actually like a shady spot, shady, high fertility soils. So I just want to show you, this is poison ivy, 3 leaves. And then, 3 leaves here. So just as you're working, if you see a vine growing against the foundation, be cautious, because it could be poison ivy. And leaves of 3, let it be. So the next thing we're going to do is grab our 5-tine Manure Fork and start picking up some of this brush. There's kind of 3 different ways I'll do this. If it's loose and lightweight, I'll just take the pitchfork, stick it in the pile, grab a big bunch of stuff, and walk it over to the driveway. If it's a longer branch, I might just grab a few branches by hand, carry them over, and put them in a pile by the driveway. And then when we get to the smaller stuff, I'll just take the pitchfork, put it in the wheelbarrow, wheel it over there, and dump it in the driveway. Whatever works for you. A 5-tine Manure Fork is not as strong as a pitchfork, so please don't overwork this tool and bend it, because some people among us can't stand tools that are bent. So don't do that. I heard there was a white cat that comes around sometimes, and I just found it. Supposed to be a pretty friendly cat. Come on, kitty. And here I was thinking I was a cat person, huh? Come on, kitty. Psst, psst, psst. Oh, it's a birder. We are all set for today. I picked up all the debris, and this is everything so far. Everything's cleaned up as far as the pruning goes. So the only bed left to really do much more is in this bed over here. What I want to do is come back and cut back all the black-eyed Susan. I'm going to just cut back the sedum, and the dwarf fountain grass. Just cut everything back so I can see whatever weeds there are, and it's just clean, and then we can kind of start fresh. I really can't even think about redesigning this right now or fillers. I'm not really sure I'm too crazy about the barberry and the juniper, but I really think right now I just want to focus on edging the beds, weeding the beds, and just saying, okay. They've been just dumping mulch every year, which is pretty much what the whole industry does, and I did myself up until about 6 years ago. But these beds have basically turned into a peat bog, so there's like 5 inches of mulch. It's super organic. A lot of these shrubs have suckered or air layered because the branches got covered with mulch. All that is just wet, peaty, super organic soil. And every year it gets another inch or two of mulch, which breaks down into wet, peaty, super organic soil. 5 or 6 years ago, I'd stop mulching. Like, I'd literally just say, you know what? I'm just gonna stop mulching. And I did it for 1 year, then 2 years. And you can usually go 3, sometimes 4 years before all that mulch just kind of wears away and gets back to normal soil. I understand the spring edged mulch is like a rite of passage for all these landscapes, and you gotta keep up with your neighbors. But it's just ridiculous and I don't want to pick on just this one house, you know, the fella that was doing it here. It's just the state of the industry, you know. People think if they don't have fresh mulch in the spring, something's wrong. That's purely mulch. Maybe the bottom of that hole has a little bit of the native soil, but all this is just, it's like a peat bog. When I was a kid, we had a stream in our backyard, and you know, usually the organic matter kind of gathers up on the side of the stream. And the soil here reminds me of that soil, you know, just off of the stream, where it's this kind of peaty, really beautiful soil, but it's wet all the time. It's actually too organic, if you can believe that. If you're in the trade and, you know, you want to try something different, tell one of your customers that you don't need to mulch in the spring. You just want to come out, re-edge the beds, do a light pruning, and turn the mulch. You know, I have a video on mulch turning. You can use a tool called the garden weasel. You can just use a steel rake, or you can use a pitchfork. You know, weed it all, turn it all. It looks just like fresh mulch. It's got a nice deep dark color. And then if there is any savings, I mean, it's going to take some more labor to do that. But if there is some more savings, put it towards coming back and taking care of any weeds and taking better care of the beds. Our industry in general is just too much mulch, too much. I didn't go super crazy over here, but what I'll do is once I get rid of the brush, the leaves here, and I can grub out the Virginia creeper and whatever else is going on here, get rid of all that, and then I'll create some form of a bed line, better than that's there, but I want to pull the bed. I want to have the bed swoop more through here, swoop more to the left, and just do one flowing curve that then matches up with this curve over here. I really don't know what the answer was on this one. When I'm done, it's going to look better. It's not going to really cost as much as a new landscape. If I was going to bid this job just for pruning with nothing else, Knowing what I know now, I would bid it by myself for 3 full days. And then after you did that, you would add time to get rid of the debris, whatever the charge for the debris was, and there would be no materials. So use your numbers and go with that. What would happen is I'd look at a job like this and I'd say, oh, I can do that in 2 days. You know, and maybe I could, but after you prune the third really overgrown shrub, you know, you don't prune it as quickly as the first. I just keep constantly going back and pruning a little bit more, or ripping out another shrub that I didn't even know was there. 3 full days, whatever time it would take to get rid of the debris. And you do the math in your own numbers, and then you tell me, would your customers go for that number? That is where we are today. Next week, or next time we're here, today's Friday, prune the perennials in that bed, prune the weeds, and then basically just come back and cut the edge, and once the edge is cut, do a final clean and get the heck out of here. Take care, folks, and we will see you soon.